How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. Uh,
Today better than your last day?
you mean did my bike get stolen all over again today? It did not.
Are you living in a Groundhog Day situation?
That would kind of suck to just like every day or just like every time you get something, like let's say I got a new bike this week and then on Monday next week someone steals that bike. You'd have to feel like someone or something is out to get you, right?
Yeah, it's like a Twilight Zone, sort
Yeah.
of a very tame Twilight.
Yeah, Team Twilight Zone. No, today I did go to the grocery store today to get some stuff, and it is surreal like standing in line to go into the grocery store. Um yeah, I don't know. It like everything else is pretty much the same. You're like buying the stuff and seeing what's available or whatever. But seeing everybody in like mass and then standing in line and it's just like a eerie feeling, like
Yeah.
like you know how like they'll show footage of like people buying food in Russia and like post-war or like during the Cold War, and you're just like, isn't that wild how that happened then?
Hmm.
But you don't contextualize it because you're like, that was so long ago in a different part of the world, and then to have it here is like it's a little odd.
Yeah, I went to the supermarket yesterday, and for the first time in a while, and so they have signs up now that say you can't come in if you don't have a mask. So
Right.
that's good. Because the last time I had gone there, it was still like everybody was wearing masks, like where we were told to wear masks, and
Yeah,
then there were people walking around without it, and it was like that's kind of,
it's
I
dumb
don't know. I don't like the supermarket because people are standing too close to, like, nobody.
for
It's a free
sure.
for all there. That's And then I almost got into a fight with this guy, with this guy, because so there weren't really that many people in there when I went. It was maybe like I don't know, whatever, like a half dozen or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. And so I was ready to pay and check out with all my stuff. So they have the things on the floor that say like stand here, to
Right.
keep people separated. So I'm standing behind one of the like aisles on one of those things. So I'm behind the person who's going in, and then this guy like starts walking towards me, and I see him out of the corner of my eye. What
Yeah.
the fuck is this guy doing? And I like put my hand up like low,
Right.
to sort of be like, stop walking, like stop coming near me.
Was he
And
not
then
like
he's
looking ahead at you, or was he
no, he was
distracted?
he was he was coming to me, and he said, "Hey, line's over there," in like a really jerky way. And I kind of, I didn't say anything. I just like looked at him like
With your
like
mask on, so just
with my
eyes, you
mask
can't.
on, and I looked at, when I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror with the mask on, and I'm like, oh yeah, those eyes said go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
um
everything now is um communication through your eyes, kind of like
yeah.
what Tyra Banks said, you have to smile through your eyes if you're a model. Smizing is what she
Uh-huh.
called it. um Remember in simpler times when Tyra Banks was the most famous person on earth, and she used to say things like "kiss my fat ass" when people were like saying that she's overweight, even though she wasn't.
Hmm.
Um, Now you aren't even sure if someone is upset with you or happy or smiling based on their eyes, because some people, they can't communicate that way, or they're just not expressive that way. But if you're pissed, that's probably the easiest way because you can furrow your brow and you can kind of give them that stare.
Yeah.
Were you in the wrong? Were you not in the right line?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, but it's like there was no way of knowing
Right,
where the line. It's because honestly, so it was this guy and then another guy,
right.
and those were the two people who were online, and I had to go behind that other guy.
Yeah,
But that system didn't make sense to me because it's like there's all these aisles. Why wouldn't you just stand behind the aisle, and then
yeah,
when that's free, you can go? Whatever. And then So I go back there and I'm like, all right, fuck this guy. And then this girl, this woman, she does the same thing that I did, where she goes to the spot. So it's like a spot that's
Right.
implied, like, you wait here.
Stand here.
He goes to that spot, and the guy runs over and he goes, "Hey, line starts over there."
So this guy just had a hard on to tell people what's up.
Yeah.
There are, you'll see people like that. I feel like
He didn't work there. Like,
no, totally. But like at a grocery store or a movie theater, or where it's just like there's groups of people and there's an opportunity for people to not like follow the order. Like at a deli, like some delis, it's like, oh, you're supposed to stand here to order. And if you're not ordering, you kind of hang back in this like little area back here or something, right?
yeah,
So those are perfect opportunities for that type of personality to just be like, bro, this is where you're supposed to order here, or are you in line? Or I think people have that kind of like tick to just kind of make sure there's order, because they feel like you are not following the order that they understand is the rules, which makes
right.
it hard for them to then do their thing. So they have to almost like, like push and adjust everything to fit in this little square just so that they can function. And then you add a global pandemic on top of that, and they're probably just like freaking out.
Yeah,
But it
losing
is
their mind.
weird. Yeah, when I went to the grocery store today, standing in line, it was pretty windy, so it was just kind of like cold. I like underdressed.
Oh, outside you have to stay in line.
Yeah, you have to stand to get into the store. It's kind of like, like three people will leave and then three people can come in. So there's only a certain amount of people who are actually in the grocery store, which I guess makes sense a little bit, but it doesn't, because it's not like everybody's spread out within the grocery store itself. Like you could still control that there's 50 people in the grocery store, but if 30 of them are in the bakery section, it doesn't really matter, right? Like how many people are. But as I'm waiting in line to get into the grocery store, there's this woman who's got no mask on and she's got no gloves, and she's opening her car door. So I'm seeing this like she's in the parking lot, and she's got like a plastic bag and it's got like receipts in it, and she's opening the door and she's like pulling stuff out of her side door, and like all the receipts are blowing everywhere, and she's got a cigarette in her mouth, and she just has like drug addict energy, where it's just like, I'm focusing on this so intensely, I'm not realizing all this other shit that is happening. And then I do notice it and I'm just focused on like, then she's just like, oh, the receipts are blowing away. So she's like picking them up, and then she's like manic about something. And then the dude who's with her, and this is how I knew, I was like, they must be drug addicts, because the dude was wearing an Echo sweater. And I don't think I've ever seen a guy with an Echo sweater who wasn't a drug addict.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a company that markets directly towards heroin users.
I don't know what it is. I've just seen like kind of like sucked in cheekbones, like long stare off into the distance, like with a goatee, like a black goatee
Oh, a goatee?
person
Mm-mm.
who's got like a tan Echo sweatshirt. And I'm just like, this guy, a hoodie. I was like, this guy does drugs. And also she's just acting in such a manic way that was like, freaking out. And she's like
Yeah.
I can just kind of see this in the distance, and it's one of those like Tasmanian devil things where you're just like, this is eventually going to come my way, because of course it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
this energy is just scattershot, and I'm inching my way closer to the door, closer to where they're at in the parking lot. And she's talking to this guy next to the car, and she's like gesturing. He's like giving her gloves for whatever reason. She's just like asking people around the parking lot for something, and I have no idea what she's asking.
Right.
And she like comes back into the store. She comes in through the exit door, and she like talks to somebody, like says something like blah blah blah, I need to do it, and they let her go in. Then she comes back out, and I'm like right there, and she walks back out, and she's just like, excuse me, do you have jumper cables? And I was like, no, I don't. And she's just like, oh, okay. And then she keeps walking and she's like asking other people. I guess she's freaking out because her car won't start. But it was just like such a weird energy of like, I, even if I do have the thing that you are asking every single person for, it's just like, I can't get sucked into this tornado because it's,
Right.
who knows
If
what
you
will
give a
happen.
mouse a cookie, you read that book?
A cookie?
No, if you
If you
if you
give a
give a
mouse a
mouse,
cookie?
yeah, you haven't read that.
No.
It's a children's book. Can you
Oh,
believe it?
it's a book. I thought
And
this was like an anecdote you were misquoting. You
yeah, I
know,
gave a
like
mouse a cookie once, and
apple
the
doesn't fall
thing,
far
if
from the
you,
tree or something.
yeah, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask for a glass of milk. So that's the moral of
Ah,
the
I
whole
see.
story. So if you use the cables to jump her car, she might ask you to, like,
Oh,
I don't know,
100%.
drive her to somewhere. I don't
Yeah, and
know. It's not.
again, if she didn't already establish a series of like events where I'm witnessing this energy, I would have been like,
Mhm.
depending on the request, I would have been like, yeah, possibly. Like initially just from afar, I was just like, she's asking people for money potentially, just because it had that energy of just kind of like bouncing from people to people, not getting what you want, going to immediately the next person you see. And yeah, and then ultimately I think somebody ended up helping her the jumper cables. But it was something where, because I'm in line and I've been in line waiting to get into the grocery store for about like at least a half hour, 40 minutes, it's just
Mhm.
like that's probably not the ideal place to ask somebody, because I'm not necessarily going to get out of line knowing that I'll have to go to the back of the line and wait all over again, just to go in and buy my potato chips.
Right. It's,
But
yeah,
yeah,
it is a weird overall energy outside, where I don't think people should be nicer to one another, but I feel like it's more of a everybody for themselves sort of thing, is where people
yeah,
aren't going to go out of their way to do anything because they just want to get to where they're trying to go and then get back home.
yeah, and
So
also
anyone who
yeah.
disrupts that, they're going to be like, don't talk, just angry at and aggressive towards.
Well, and it adds to it too, where you're already told to not really interact with people. So there's that.
Mhm.
And then you don't know how, like, there was a lady who, because it was windy, she was leaving the grocery store with her cart full of stuff, and the wind just kind of blows like something that's kind of light off of her cart just like next to her. And my instinct was to be like, oh, I'll just like go over there and pick it up and hand it to her. But also, like, I thought about it for a second. I was just like, if that was me, what would I even want to use that after someone has like picked it up and like given it back to me? Like, just that,
Yeah.
innocent interaction of like, oh, let me help you grab that, is almost kind of like taboo, because you're just like, well, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're sick. I don't know. Like, yeah, you might have gloves on, but I don't know what you've touched with those gloves. Like, it's all of that. So it kind of is weird, because it's like, you want to be nice, but what's the threshold of that where you can be nice and not necessarily encroach on someone's safety or their perception of, you know safe their safe bubble.
Right.
But yeah, and it's weird because like a lot of the grocery stores are out of stock of stuff, because I've been struggling to find like some basic stuff like a baking soda or whatever, and all of the big stores are empty. And then I go to my bodega, which I usually don't go to buy, like, they have everything. They have like aluminum foil and like candles and just random knickknacks of stuff that in any instance I would walk in there, I'd be like, who is buying party balloons from a bodega? Like, I don't understand how
Right.
that is next to rat poison and all these other things that are just like this random collection of items. But I go in there because, like, yeah, everywhere's out of flour or baking soda or, you name it. And I go into these bodegas and it's like, yeah, toilet paper, paper towels,
Mhm.
flour, you name it, they have it all in there. And I'm just like, how are they stocked? And then I realized that a lot of those bodegas will go to Costco and go to Walmart and go to those places, and they'll buy cases of soda or Gatorade or toilet paper and all that stuff. And that's how they stock their stores. So,
Yeah, I guess it depends on who owns the store. Yeah.
yeah, like I see that for a lot of small stores. Like I'll, like, especially in the morning, I'll see them like, come to the store and they'll have like their little car full of, whatever detergent and like all this stuff. And it's like, they clearly bought it at a store somewhere and are, just bringing
Mhm.
it, to the bodega to just kind of like sell, loose basically.
Yeah, the one on my corner has, they're like stocked up with toilet paper and paper towels as well.
Yeah.
And the supermarket isn't. I mean, they have single roll, like,
Yeah. The worst toilet paper.
yeah. I don't even know what it's called, but like whatever is a bit below Scott, the brand Scott,
Of course.
which is like the like thinnest,
It- it-
roughest toilet paper you can
Scott
buy.
is like, if you're looking at a a project plan for how to make like paper mache, there's like, get 15 rolls of Scott toilet paper because it's thin enough to just mat into this like construction thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one ply, and it's like if you
Your
blow
toilet
too
paper
hard.
should not be see through. You shouldn't be able to look through your toilet paper and clearly see something.
Yeah, it's not doing its job at all. Like I
Right.
said, I transitioned to wet wipes, baby wipes, whatever you want to call them, years ago, and it's that whole thing where it's like, immediately you're like, why haven't I always been doing this? I mean, babies, that's what you buy for babies, and you're just like, all right, once they're an adult, they're gonna use this shitty one ply Scott toilet paper like everybody else, and it's just like, why not continue to use it?
Hmm.
Does it make
Maybe
sense?
I'll give it a shot. Is that a hint at me to
I'm
give wipes a
saying
shot?
you should clean your ass, Mark, instead of using your one ply, which is clearly not getting the job done,
I do it with my tongue like a cat.
where you just self clean.
I still,
Self clean. Well, I think this is definitely a first world problem of like, you should be using wet wipes instead of whatever toilet paper. But then you realize
but
that
we
like,
live in a first world, Meseret.
I totally understand. But then, like, this is a perfect example of where you don't even have to be in a first world country to see like benefits of how people do it in, poorer countries. Like
Sure.
we, like, in Europe, in Africa, a lot of the world where it's not a first world country, like, their whole situation in the bathroom is way different. And it's just interesting culturally what we think is just like appropriate to kind of do and not do. And yeah, it's always, I mean, that's the like standard joke in every movie where it's usually a sequel where the characters go to Europe, and then it's the
Yeah.
dumb character who's just like, hey, there's two toilets in here. And then,
Right. Right.
the nerdy kid with the glasses pushed up, and he's like, actually, that other one is called a bidet. And he's just like, what, you drink water out of it? It's like a
Yeah.
fountain. And it's just kind of like, there's this whole other like operation that is happening. I think is starting to like, people are starting to understand in the United States, but we're just kind of like Neanderthal about it. Where we're just like, no, I need toilet paper. I
Hmm.
need paper.
Well, every bathroom has a toilet paper
Exactly.
holder thing. So,
Well,
what am I
that's
supposed to do with that if I switch to wipes and a bidet?
uh yeah, I don't know. You just have a
Hang
clean
a
butt.
washcloth off of it?
Well, no, yeah. You don't reuse it. That's definitely not sanitary. Um, no, it's just kind of, this is a whole situation that is at least introducing the conversation. There's a
It's a
99
conversation that has to be had.
has to be the 99% after this is all done. we're just going to continue to go back to the lives that we had for the most part. Like things are going to change, but there are going to be things that we're like, oh, we should have figured out how to like deal with this during the pandemic instead of just reverting back to what we were doing before all this
Mhm.
happened. And I think that's definitely not going to happen. People are just going to be like, well, this is how I did it before and I want to go back to that.
Well, hopefully people are cleaner in like washing their hands and keeping germs to themselves.
Yeah. You
I think that'll like people you'll see people wear gloves
Oh
on
yeah.
public transit for a long time.
I think gloves and masks for sure.
Yeah.
Especially like here in New York, like being on the subway, I don't think people will feel like truly comfortable. I mean, we'd always joke about it. It's just like how dirty the subway is and
Mhm.
the amount of people and it's just like, oh, when you grab uh a pole in the subway and it's warm, you're just like
So yeah.
it's so disgusting because you're just like, the pole isn't warm naturally. Someone was just holding this for 45 minutes and then walked out, and then I come in and I'm grabbing it, and it's just like, yeah, all of that. And just thinking about how many days I would go into work and just be like inhaling someone's hair in front of me because it's so many people. There's some of that I think, I don't know, there's just going to be very, very hard for people to like just go back into, and they're completely justified. Like I don't understand how we would go back to that, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, anytime, I guess it will become a joke or whatever, but anytime somebody coughs or clears their throat or
Oh
something,
yeah.
people are going to like recoil and be like,
Well, absolutely.
exercise that person.
Yeah, I mean, that fear will probably never leave our lives. That's my that's my prediction, Mez's prediction, for today's episode. We will probably always have, well, just kind of like how people who grew up during the Depression always had that like sense of like financial insecurity and always saved or always had extra food or whatever. Like I think we'll have a version of that. Maybe we'll just all be so addicted to social media and technology because that's what we latched onto during this like traumatic time that we'll never not feel comfortable without that kind of like, whatever, connection.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows for sure? What I do know though is that life will go on, and that's
That's what you think.
oh, that's true. I was just trying to make like a cheesy, like, hey, we're all in this together, and like, make a statement that is kind of a generality that people already understand, but by
Okay,
me
do your
saying it,
statement. Do your statement now. So you're like in charge of a big company and you're trying to reassure the
yeah,
entire
is
company.
this through an email where it's just like, hey, it's Tom, the CEO of the company, of the email you're receiving,
Yeah, this scenario is you dictating that to your assistant
to my assistant,
from 6 feet away. Yeah.
and they're just like, hey, we just need like a pick me up. Do you think you could just put a couple of sentences together and just like send it out to everybody? I'm like, yeah, I got it. So I would say, I wouldn't even go like, uh, dear employees. I'd just be like, hey friends, comma, uh, what a what an interesting time we've all lived in. And one day when when you all have kids and you're much older, we'll look back on this time where we thought about who was strong and who was weak. And I want everybody at this company to understand that we were all strong because we stood up, in a time of need. And it's important to understand that we're all gonna get through this together. And then I'd probably sign off by saying something like, um, faith in each other will guide us forward. And then I would do probably do like truly, and then CEO Meseret. That's how I would sign off. And then maybe do like a little, like a fake image or postcard thing at the bottom that just says stronger together,
Mm-hmm.
and like two
And then
hands handshaking.
what gif would you put?
And then it would be like a Scooby-Doo gif of them pulling masks off of like somebody, and it's that like repeating gif where it's just like continually pulling masks off of this perpetrator. It'd probably be that. And at the bottom would just be like, PS, have a laugh because it's important for your health. And then I would be like, that's a company order. When like business people, they're like, I'm forcing you all to have fun today. And it's just kind of like, go fucking jump off your yacht. I don't care about you. When they're like, I'm ordering you to have fun. You're ordered to smile and have fun.
Yeah. Pick a fun background when you Zoom, when you have a Zoom meeting, just pick a fun background and maybe have a drink, mix a drink.
Yeah.
Do a Negroni.
These are 100% the same people who would lay you off and be like, we just can't make room right now. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then cut to like a month before, and they're just like crying to you about how amazing the group of people that you've assembled by hiring them are. And it's just kind of like, what world are you living in?
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate it where it's just like, this is a job. Like, if you need to do these things to feel comfortable and do it, great. But it's weird where it's just like this facade of it, or it's just like, have a fun background. Do it. It's just like, God damn it. Oh,
I had a Zoom meeting yesterday with a couple people were in the group, and this one person kept chewing into the microphone.
Like,
and it
like they were eating something, like,
yeah.
And
like it was infuriating, the noise that was like, and I felt that everybody was thinking, because they're eating like chips or something, and I felt that everybody was like, because anytime they'd put a chip in their mouth, people kind of like buried their
they'd just be like,
because it would be this like
hear you
crunching.
and
so I took it upon myself to say, I'm sorry, do you mind not chewing? It is insane.
You were the guy in line. We were just like, the line starts
over. Oh no, that's
you're that guy. You're just like, excuse me, we can hear you chew. Well, that is the thing where it's like, that goes to social etiquette. And because this is such a new experience of like doing a meeting online, some people really don't understand that, like,
you're in your home, but you're also talking with other people.
Yeah, like, have some semblance of like the room. But again, that's most people. Like, some people are self-aware, where like you would be very conscious about like, oh, I'm going to shut this window and make sure like people can't hear noises that are coming from outside or whatever. And then some people are just like, hey, pass me the sweet spicy chili Doritos. I'm going to eat it while we have this conversation in front of people.
But you can also eat, but just hit the mute button when you chew.
Totally.
That's a compromise.
Absolutely. But I love that you were put upon to be like, hey, dum-dum, we can hear you. What the fuck?
Yeah. I've known them for a while. It wasn't like me telling a stranger.
So if that happens outside of a Zoom meeting, let's say that happens with friends, and something happens where you're just like, this person's being not self-aware about this situation, but you know them. Does that change the perception of how you look at them? Because they're just like, yeah, you should know that if you were coming in from outside and your shoes are all wet, that maybe you shouldn't walk all over my carpet.
Oh, definitely. I had a friend over, like a couple friends over, and we had like pizza or something like that. and one of the friends, like, I could take care of all the like dishes and stuff, but one
Right.
of the friends like took the dishes to the sink, and then he he rinsed one of the dish like that he had been eating off of. He rinsed one of the dishes, so it looked clean, and then put it on the dish rack. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Oh yeah, that's a
Just leave it in the sink. But then that's me. I see, like, oh, that's how they do things at home,
yes.
and they don't get that. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's one thing, and I can kind of get it if that person like does that at home and they live by themselves, so no one can then just be like, "Hey, this is wrong." It's
Yeah,
worse if they do live with somebody because now you can just group those people together because it's like if you do this at home and this other person you live with allows it enough that you're doing it at other people's house, then it's just like you're both that, just push you off to the side. That's who you are. But
yeah,
dishes is that's like a really good test, whether it's friends or someone you're dating or whatever, is just to be like, how do they wash their dishes? And if it is similar to how you do it or more like cleaner, like let's say you wash it and you're like, I scrub and I do all that, and they're like doing the same thing but more, you'd be like, okay, I think I could get along with this person. But I've definitely had it where I'm like washing dishes and then yeah, like you said, somebody will like splash some water on it and be like, yeah, that's good, and I'm just like, oh, this is not going to work
yeah.
because I'm going to die of sepsis because all of my dishes are going to be contaminated.
Right.
But that is also like a dishwasher like machine versus hand wash person too, because people who just have dishwashers cannot wash dishes.
But they understand the concept of using soap
You'd think.
to rinse away.
Mark, we're in a pandemic because people don't wash their fucking hands.
That's true. I mean, if you think of that, the way that person splashed water on a plate, that's how they wash their hands in the bathroom. They just splash
at,
water.
I, at my last job, it was terrifying to see how many people leave the bathroom without washing their hands. It's terrifying because it's like, yeah, it's like a movie where they're showing like the infrared and it's just like slowly being contaminated all over, and it's just like this red dot is spreading and spreading, and it's so unnerving. And then yeah, to
Yeah.
have that in your house where someone's just like, you know the worst is drying a dish with like a piece of your clothing, like using the bottom of your shirt to like dry it. I'm just like, get out of my house.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah. That is weird. Do you dry your dishes? Because I don't dry them. I wash them and then put them in the rack and let them air dry.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I will
Okay.
do like if it's a dish that I need to use right away, like more like a pot or something like that, I'll wash it and then I'll use like a towel to dry it and then do that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, just dish rack. Um, that's the way to go. It's the only way to go. I don't have a dishwasher, so I can't do anything else. I can't hang them out like clothing on a line. Just let the breeze blow it. But you know, maybe one day someone will make that invention.
I think that's like going backwards in terms of the advancement of
of,
dishwashing.
of society. I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna look. We're going back. We're going backwards. It's just what's happening.
This
Society,
is simpler time.
simpler times. We're all making bread. Um, we're thumbing our noses at stay-at-home orders and gathering at town halls to protest. Um, and
Oh yeah, I mean, that's so stupid.
yeah, it's
What,
it's
like,
yeah.
I gotta get my hair cut.
Look, I just gave myself a haircut today. Granted, like my haircuts are very simple. I just like use
Just
a
do one.
buzzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one in one continuous motion, like an orange peel. I just buzz it all off. But
Right.
yeah, some people, it this is a great situation to really see what people value and what pushes them to think about like breaking those um laws basically, because it's like it's not like, oh, I want to go do this thing or see this person. It's just like I I want to go get my hair dyed. I want to get a tattoo. I want
Yeah.
to
Who knew so many people liked bowling also? The bowling alleys are closed.
the bowling alleys are closed.
Like
Yeah,
that was included on the list of venues that like
their
it's like, well, I
list of
don't know how
demands.
many bowling alleys and arcades there are that close. Yeah, they're like, I need the bowling alley.
Yeah, and as someone who loves bowling and has been bowling since elementary school, I own 2 bowling balls. I would love nothing more than to go bowling, but I'm okay. I don't
Yeah.
I don't need to do it right now.
Right.
It does seem like one of those activities where it's just like, well, it's one person could ostensibly go bowling by themselves. So I see that side of it, but then the other side of it is you are throwing an object that you're handling with your hands down a lane
Yeah.
full of oil into pins that have been handled by a pin technician, and having known pin technicians, their hands are definitely not clean and they're handling the equipment. Then your ball is coming back and then you're holding it again. And yeah, it's just go watch Big Lebowski and see how they're not doing everything appropriate.
Oh, do you have a big problem with that movie because of that?
No, I just mean like they would break every social distance rule if you watch that movie just based on what happens. Like John Turturro's character licks the bowling ball. That's a big
Right.
no-no. You can't do
Yeah.
that. Walter Sobchak, he's got his arms around the other guys. He when he dies, his ashes get blown into the other dude's face. That's definitely not allowed.
Not allowed.
You probably get corona that way. You get the crown that way,
From
man.
ashes? I don't know. Wouldn't that
Well,
look? We
if
don't.
it's in your
I mean, we don't
body,
have anything.
here, I'm going to give you some bro science. If you have the crown,
Where'd you
and
did you learn this?
I, I've learned this through reading websites and then just thinking about it hard.
Mhm.
But I
Okay,
think
go
if
for it.
you have the crown and it's in your body and you die and then they cremate you, your ashes, I don't think the cremation process would burn the virus away. I think it's just in the like the little dust ashes in there. And then to spread that because it's airborne, obviously, and you like eat it basically, which was what happens in that movie, you definitely would get it.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be fun. It's also, yeah, it's
Gross.
icky.
it's
It's icky.
it's one of the hardest I ever laughed as a kid watching that movie and that happening. Like the first time I saw that scene, I was in tears because it's just
Well,
not
because
what you
it's
expected.
yeah, exactly. You've seen enough stuff at that point where it's like, oh, and then it's beautiful. They
Yep.
blow the ashes. Yeah.
And yeah, and then just Jeff Bridges' face with his sunglasses, just stone faced, just having John Goodman's ashes all over his face and beard and hair. It's
Mhm.
the Coen brothers. They make a movie, a real
That they
good one.
do.
All right, should we get started?
Let's get started.